Have you ever wondered how a company can see its profits explode, say by 80% when its sales only nudged up by 40%? I mean, it sounds kind of like financial magic, right? But it's actually a core principle of smart financial management.
Well, the answer to that little puzzle lies in a super powerful concept called leverage. Today, we're going to dive into leverage analysis, which is basically the art and science of using fixed costs to amplify your company's profits.
You see, when it's managed the right way, leverage is this amazing tool that lets financial managers turn small changes into really big results. It's all about being strategic with your company's cost structure to get the most bang for your buck. So, here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture of leverage. Then, we'll break it down into the two key types, operating and financial. We'll see how they work together, and then we'll wrap up by looking at why this is such a high-stakes game.
All right, let's jump right in with the big idea. What exactly is this profit amplifier we're talking about?
At its heart, leverage is all about using something that has a fixed cost. Think of a factory with a set monthly rent or a business loan with a fixed interest rate to generate much, much bigger returns. Since that cost is locked in and doesn't change, every single dollar you earn above and beyond that cost just pours fuel on the fire of your profits.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit more, starting with the first type. Operating leverage. This one is all about the power that fixed costs have in a company's day-to-day business. So operating leverage comes from your fixed operating costs. You know, stuff like the rent for your office, the big machinery on the factory floor, or even key salaries. These are the bills you have to pay no matter what. So once your sales are high enough to cover them, any extra revenue makes your profits grow way faster than your sales do.
And get this, we can actually measure this effect. It's called the degree of operating leverage, or DOL. It's a simple formula that tells you exactly how much your operating profit, that's your EBIT, is going to jump for every 1% increase in sales. And this isn't just some textbook formula. Analysts in the real world use this to compare companies and see which one might have a riskier setup or more potential to soar in a good year.
Let's look at an example to make this crystal clear. Okay, so this company boosts its sales by 40%. Now the variable costs, they go up right along with sales. That makes sense. But look at the fixed costs. See that? It stays locked in at 50,000 rupees. It doesn't budge. And that right there is the secret sauce. The result? A 40% bump in sales leads to a massive 80% jump in operating profit.
So that gives us a degree of operating leverage of 2. You just take the 80% change in profit and divide it by the 40% change in sales. What this means is, for this company, every time sales go up by just 1%, its operating profit jumps by 2%. That is the amplifier in action.
All right, so a quick recap on operating leverage. 1, it's caused by those fixed costs like rent. 2, its whole job is to juice up the relationship between your sales and your operating profit. And 3, the higher that DOL number, the bigger the amplification effect.
Okay, now let's switch gears. We've talked about how a company runs its business. Now let's talk about how it pays for it. This brings us to the second kind of leverage, and this one is all about the strategic use of debt.
With financial leverage, the fixed cost we're talking about isn't rent, it's the interest payment on a loan. But you know what? It works in the exact same way, because that interest payment is a fixed number. Any increase in your operating profit above that fixed cost gets magnified as it flows down to what the shareholders actually get to keep.
And EBIT, that's earnings before interest and taxes, is the perfect bridge between these two ideas. Think about it. Operating leverage gets you from your sales number to your EBIT. Then, financial leverage takes that EBIT and amplifies it on its way down to the final earnings for shareholders. It's the critical link between the business operations and the financial structure.
And of course, you probably guessed it, we can measure this one too. The degree of financial leverage, or DFL, shows you just how sensitive a company's earnings per share are to a change in its operating profit. This number is a direct signal of a company's financial risk. A higher DFL means debt is playing a much bigger role, for better or for worse. Now, to really see its power, let's first check out a company that has zero debt. So EBIT goes up by 80%. What happens to the final profit? Well, it goes up by exactly 80%. There's no amplifier here at all. The degree of financial leverage is just 1.
So let's quickly sum up financial leverage. It's all driven by those fixed interest payments on debt. Its job is to amplify the impact of operating profit on shareholder earnings. And the bottom line is, the more debt you have, the more financial leverage you've got. Simple as that.
So what happens when a company uses both operating and financial leverage at the same time? Well, this is where you can get a truly powerful and sometimes pretty explosive chain reaction.
Think of it like a 1-2 punch. A small increase in sales gets a big boost from operating leverage, turning it into a much bigger increase in EBIT. Then, that already boosted EBIT gets hit with the second amplifier, financial leverage, creating an even more massive jump in earnings for shareholders. The total effect isn't just added together, it's multiplied.
But, and this is a really, really big but, this incredible power comes with a very serious warning. Leverage is a classic double-edged sword. The same forces that magnify your gains on the way up will magnify your losses even more brutally on the way down.
This quote from our source material really says it all. More leverage equals more risk. And the reason is pretty simple. Those fixed costs, the rent, the salaries, the interest payments, they don't just disappear when you have a bad sales quarter. A small dip in sales can get amplified into a terrifying drop in profits, and that could put the whole company at risk.
So this is the fundamental trade-off every company faces. High leverage gives you the shot at incredible profit growth, but it comes with huge risks. Low leverage, on the other hand, gives you stability, but you're probably not going to see that explosive growth. There's no single right answer here. It's a strategic choice every business has to make for itself.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Is leverage a brilliant strategy or a dangerous gamble? Well, the truth is, it's both. It's an incredibly powerful tool for creating wealth, but it's a tool that demands a ton of respect and very careful management. Finding that just right level of leverage all depends on the company, its industry, and really its stomach for risk.